Welcome to the Fantasy NASCAR Podcast. I am Race for the Prize. Let's look at optimal lineups from the Truck Series for Bristol so you can have a better Saturday night. But first, remember, racefortheprize.com. That's where you get access to the Fantasy NASCAR spreadsheet, $27 for the month of March. But I missed Phoenix. Okay, we can prorate it. Send me an email. Let's talk. $10 for the weekend. Whatever we need to do. Let's get some positive vibes out there. I had to record a negative podcast. Like to get that negativity behind me, although I think people are going to kick some dirt on me and I'm going to get some hate, so I'll have to deal with that. But I'm going to do my best. Positive. Spread some positive vibes. We're looking at the 2023 race. Now, the first assumption with 200 laps in a truck race is that we're going to have multiple hogs. And I think that's a fair assumption. But when we look at the 2023 race, we don't have that. And that's mainly because one guy runs away with the show, Christian Eckes. We do have Zane Smith leading some laps down here, but not even really running fast laps, which I think is pretty telling. Like, wait a second. He was leading. Zane Smith cycled to the lead in this race last year, 4 front row, just a pit sequencing, and we very much are going to see that possibly again. Those points add up. Now, if he just wouldn't have had his penalty at the end, he could have slid into the optimal lineup. Probably not. I really doubt it. Eventually, he loses the lead because he just kind of cycled to the lead. Anyway, Eckes, but big time. And then we're going place differential with Nick Sanchez, who's starting 35th. Really a no-brainer right there. If you get an expensive driver this weekend, good driver, starting dead last, jam him in. Bailey Curry, not much of a stretch. He's starting 36th. We know that his niche truck is capable of a top 20 and even a top 15, which he gets a little bit more out of it with the 13th place finish rather than his 20th place average running position. No surprise there. You can't afford Heim or Quapple wasn't even in the player pool. And then Infinger, again, just has a good race, but doesn't provide enough fantasy value, although 13th to 3rd is a pretty good day. Does hit 5.3, but just doesn't quite work because you'd rather spend up on Sanchez. Jake Garcia running for Bill McAnally, starting 30th, finishes 11th. Again, you're not really splitting the ad and making that play. Garcia's a good racer. McAnally has been really good at Bristol over the last couple seasons. You're going to want to write that down. McAnally, Derek Kraus had a really fast car, scored a lot of points. You're going to see his name come up. Derek Kraus, the disappointing Derek Kraus. Last year, McAnally and Eckes should have won this race had it not been for lap traffic with 3 laps remaining. They've got a setup, folks. Circle all those guys, especially Daniel Dye. Taylor Gray, always a solid driver for Tricon. Only going to get better now with Jeff Hensley coming on as his crew chief. He finishes 5th after starting 8th. Not the biggest, best play, but it's simply no one else really scores any fantasy points. And this is typical for a truck race. A lot of your top 10 scores are not that high. The top 10 is pretty much locked out in terms of not very many surprises. You get your Hosevers, you get some Ben Rhodes. They all start near the front. They'll finish near the front. They're all very expensive. So a play like Taylor Gray is often good enough. There's your 5. And those guys didn't come very cheap. So we need a punt. Who is our punt du jour? Haley Deegan, 5,500. A ho-hum day. But a ho-hum day at Bristol for her is a pretty good day. A ho-hum day for anyone is a pretty good day. That sounds very misogynistic. That's good for a girl. No, that's pretty good for anyone except for Matt Crafton. He needs to do better. So there's your lineup. Biggest takeaway, first of all, it's small sample size, but we'll look at the other races. We only had 1 hog. We had 1 punt. This is pretty balanced, and we were chasing place differential. Is that going to be the theme? Let's look further at other Truck Series optimal lineups and see if there is a pattern that we can unveil. Zane Smith is your top scorer. He's just a place differential. He does get you some hog points in this race, where he finishes 2nd to Ty Majeski, who simply just had a better truck. And we will talk about lead changes in a second. We're going to go that in depth to talk about speed, yes. We do a little bit of research around here at the Fantasy NASCAR Podcast because I think you appreciate it. And it gives you a little bit more confidence and conviction in your plays. We're not just reading the numbers. So you got a place differential guy, very similar to our Nick Sanchez play, although a little bit more expensive. Kligerman in that Henderson truck. The Henderson trucks are pretty good. 28th, finishes 3rd. Now, I don't expect a 3rd place finish from Stephen Parsons this week, or even Parker Kligerman, but an average running position of 13th seems about right for Parker Kligerman. even when he starts in the back. Parsons probably 5 spots slower, but still a top 20 truck with Henderson. So we get another place differential guy. This hog doesn't work out. Had Smith not had an issue, then yes, we have a 2-hog lineup. It is Bristol. We do have issues. End of the day, we only had 1 hog, but we can't completely say that it's definitive. Oh, it's only going to be a 1-hog lineup. And when I say hog, it's dominator, fast laps, laps leader, however you want to classify it. It's up to you. Nemechek gets you a lot of place differential. He's just too expensive. You could save a little bit with Zane Smith. You could save a little bit with Parker Kligerman. But again, we're seeing guys in the top at Bristol with big place differential plays. Matt Crafton gets you 11. His salary was rightfully appreciated at that time. Finishes much better than probably where he should. We do have kind of a late caution. It's not really that late, so he must have had some speed. Oh, look who we have here. Derek Kraus, running well at Bristol. McAnally's been fast at Bristol for quite a while. Caden Honeycutt, pretty solid driver at 5,500, starting 27th. You like his results. I've gone through his stuff and talked about it in previous podcasts. He doesn't get enough regular work. If he did get enough regular work, we would probably have a different perspective on Caden Honeycutt. If he ever gets a full-time ride, he would be like a better version of Bailey Curry, I would argue. He's kind of in that Bailey Curry zone when Bailey Curry was only getting part-time rides. So for him to get that result, not a surprise, but there's our punt. And I believe we've got to get another punt because we're chasing place differential. And then you had to go to Lawless Allen, which was an absolutely ugly play. Average running position 22nd, finishes 23rd. Just a simple salary saver. But he does finish the race. He does finish on the lead lap. Double punt. But it makes sense because we were chasing some big place differential points. And Ty Majeski wasn't really cheap. So far, we do have 2 lines with only 1 hog. Now, this last one, not necessarily a guaranteed lock. Let's look at 2021. And it's another 1-hog lineup. And similar to 2023, we have 1 driver who just gets out there and you can't really pass. And it's lap turning. Lead changes are few and far between. I'm just going to give you the shortcut now. We've got like maybe 2 to 3 lead changes per race at Bristol. And if the lead doesn't change often, then it's more likely that 1 driver leads all the laps and runs all the fast laps. I'll repeat that, but we'll go into it a little bit later. On average, the lead changes 2 to 3 times. So it's not like a 500 lap cup race or any other races that you're used to. There's a lot of laps, but really only 1 guy's out there turning around in front of people. And so far you've seen the evidence. 3 lineups, optimal, 3 hogs only. Chandler Smith, another good performance. Doug Kobe, as your punt. Enfinger doesn't even score but 48 fantasy points. It's a little cheaper than normal, but he works. He fits because we have enough savings and just no one else scores any points. Typically, we don't really like to play Grant Enfinger. We know he is good at Bristol. He had a decent equipment in this season. And he usually just doesn't work because we're chasing place differential or we're doing something else. But when 1 driver takes all the points, everyone else starts up front, finishes up front, they don't score any points. So you get a Johnny Sauter, you get a Grant Enfinger, and they're just cheap enough that they work their way into the lineup. This can happen. It's kind of unusual, but when you have 1 driver who takes the show, as I said, lead doesn't change very much. We're seeing 1 guy lead all the laps. It is acceptable to accept a just ho-hum day from Grant Enfinger out there, starting and finishing where he should, scoring enough points. He works. And then here we go. Another super cheapie starting in the back. 2 super cheapies starting in the back. Someone's not going to qualify well. It's Bristol. It happens. Now, their finishes are a little bit inflated, but it's going to happen. You just got to pick the right ones. So you're looking at 1 to 2 punts, 1 hog so far, and then getting place differential if you can with the rest. If you can't, we've seen it work, which is getting guys that are going to finish up near the front. At the very least, sure. Place differential will present itself. If it doesn't present itself, then you're just looking for really good finishes. And assuming that 1 guy's going to score all the points, then the rest of the points are going to be mainly finishing position points rather than place differential. And so then it becomes a little bit easier. You're just saying, all right, well, who's going to finish up front? If you can't chase place differential, where are you spending your money? You're spending your money on finishing position. So again, We're looking like one hog. We're looking at 1 to 2 value plays. From there, we chase place differential. If you can't get place differential, then we are targeting finishing position because all the other scoring buckets have been closed. You can't score place differential if it's not there. Clearly, one guy is taking the hog point bucket all to himself. So then, where do the points come from? They come from finishing position. 2020. Finally, we get a bunch of different hogs, and this is 2020. We got no practice. We got weird races. Brett Moffitt leads a lot, but in the end, he gets tight, gets passed by Sam Mayer, who not only with a decent hog day, laps a day leads at the end of this race, but he gets place differential on top of it. Parker Kligerman gets you 31. That Henderson truck, oh, not very good. Yeah, looked pretty good to me. Average running position 12th, but we can't afford him. Ankrum, very good day. Ankrum finally back in a good truck this year. It's probably the last time the Ankrum was in pretty decent equipment. I don't believe that the GMS trucks that he was driving around were that great. And so that really hurt his growth, his development, his performance. We could see a new Ankrum this season because we are seeing a new Ankrum this season. He's probably one of the best drivers, if not the best at the moment, at least in terms of points in the truck series, driving a fast McAnally truck. And he's been good at Bristol in the past. Trevor Bayne, there it is. There's your place differential. Tanner Gray, getting you some place differential. Pretty affordable for a then David Gilliland truck. Chandler Smith, 8,100. Solid day, not a great day, but at that point, we can't get anybody else, so we're targeting finishing position at 8,100. KBM, come on now. Chandler Smith. All right, going way back. So this one does defy us and has multiple hogs. So we cannot jump to the conclusions with saying, oh, just one. We go back to 2019, our first Bristol DFS NASCAR event. There's Brett Moffitt again, coming off his championship season, looking pretty good that year. Wins the race, starts on the pole, fast practice, yada, 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 hog. Can't afford Ross Chastain. That was the hot year for him. Just can't get there. He has a pretty good day. Enfinger gets you some hog points, gets you some place differential, get you a top finish. Enfinger's good at this track. Enfinger's still running for Thor, a contender. I believe in 2019, he will win the regular season title. Doesn't win the playoffs, doesn't always get wins, but was always a top 5 driver, very consistent driver, had a hell of a season. Sheldon Creed coming into his own, still pretty new and fresh that year, but he gets you 18 place differential and a pretty solid truck, 8,600, kind of underpriced. Chandler Smith bursting onto the scene that year, getting some part-time rides. I don't even think he was old enough yet to run the intermediates. He might have been at that part in the season. Solid day for a KBM truck, but again, 7,800 for a KBM truck and a talented driver like Chandler Smith. What are we doing? Yeah, you jump on that 6.7x. Not really a surprise. A little bit of place differential, but you're fine just targeting the finishing position bucket. And here we go. Landon Huffman and Timmy Hill are going to be your punts. Double-digit place differential because they're both starting towards the back. Just got to creep into the top 20. Salary savings. All right, so we've run through all the optimal lineups. My takeaway is, yeah, I am leaning towards one hog. I might consider two. And I think two can work if a hog just doesn't face adversity. I don't think it's definitive, but I'm not going to go after three. And if the third guy gets me points, that's great. He just got me points. It worked out. I would much rather spend money on place differential with my third, fourth, and fifth pick. Actually, probably my third and fourth. And my fifth and sixth are probably going to be punts. Especially in a lineup with Kyle Busch, fifth and sixth are definitely going to be punts. If I go that route, it's probably going to be 4, 5, 6 if I go that route. Depends on qualifying, obviously, but I think your construction is one, maybe two hogs. With the money that you have for really good drivers, you want place differential first. If you can't get that because everybody's starting towards the front, then you're satisfied with finishing position with the assumption that most of the points are hogged up by a guy at the top. And then you've just got to punt and hope that you get the guys that are right. Now, talking about lead changes in this race, these races, we'll go back to 2023. You had a lead change during the stage break, and then the end of stage 2 and stage 3 at the end of both runs, and it was due to lap traffic. So we did see 3 people cycle around. In the end, one guy pretty much controlled most of the race. For the most part, it's lap turning, so Into stage 2, Zane Smith takes the lead on pit road. He'll later get passed at the end of stage 3, or into stage 2 due to lap traffic. Eckes also will lose the lead at the very end to Corey Heim due to lap traffic. But again, that's late in a run. So when we do get a lead change, it doesn't necessarily lead to that next driver getting a bunch of laps led. Heim takes over the lead, but he's really not able to do anything with it. Eckes takes the lead back from Zane Smith and then goes on the roll because he was the main hog in that race. We go to 22, and Chandler Smith takes the lead from Kraus around lap 27, just as a better truck. Not really a surprise there. Still a pretty good day from Derek Kraus. Then our next lead change will come just pit cycling at the end of the stage 3 break. Then we get a lead change at the very end when Ty Majeski simply just has the better truck, better than Zane Smith, takes the lead, wins the race. There you go. And Majeski ends up with more points at a lower price. They're both optimal. I mean, I guess we could consider Zane Smith a hog, but he really is more of a place differential play in this situation. So there's your lead changes so far. Not a lot. 2021, obviously, we ain't getting any lead changes. It's just Creed all day. 2020, how do we switch leads? Stage breaks. Moffitt loses the lead through the stage break. Then in the stage break into 3, the lead is then again shuffled again. Then on lap 171, Sam Mayer just has a better car than Brett Moffitt with about 30 laps left. That's where he gets all these points. So really one of the few, I mean, we got the Chandler Smith pass where a better car got around, scored a bunch of points. Then Sam Mayer works his way through. Eventually, Brett Moffitt, last run, it's a little bit tight. Sam Mayer easily gets by him. And that's it. It's all said and done. Not very many lead changes. There's not very many lead changes. We're not going to get very many hogs, which means I really don't feel confident in taking 3. I don't even feel that confident in taking 2. I think I'd rather take 1 and then maybe be able to make a better lineup. Blessed to have you guys around. Love you guys. Like, subscribe, share, spread some positive vibes. Put it out there. Be supportive. Love you. Triple Life's fantastic.